Hello, welcome to More with the Mayor. Today we've got some really great guests. We have Matt Largent from Williamson, Inc., and we're going to follow up with Deb Faulkner, who's our new interim chief of police. So let's start out with Matt Largent. Matt, welcome to More with the Mayor, and we're glad to have you here today. I know it's been a really busy year for you, and would like for you to kind of tell everybody what Williamson, Inc. is and what your year has been like.
Sure, thanks, and thanks for having me too, Mayor. I certainly appreciate it. We've got a great partnership with all the municipalities in Williamson County, but especially so with Franklin, and I appreciate your leadership and the rest of the staff here. So we are about 2 years old now. We are a combination of actually 4 different chambers of commerce and the Department of Economic Development for the county. And our mission is pretty simple: to help companies grow their business and help grow the economy of Williamson County. So everything we do, from our initiatives to our events to our partnership, are focused on those 2 things of helping companies grow their business and helping the economy of Williamson County grow.
Well, why in the world, if I were a business, would I really want to join, though? I mean,
Sure. Yeah, now, and that's a question we get all the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, we look at ourselves as an organization that can provide the tools to help those businesses grow. And they're going to define growth in a lot of different ways. It could be more customers, more clients, it could be better clients. So we have a suite of ways for them to accomplish their goals, whether it's our Young Professional program, our Women in Business program, our program focused on small business with First Friday, our monthly membership meetings, our different committees to be involved and engage with. But it's really a way that they can network, they can meet their peers, and they can really gain new clients or new customers. I use the word or the phrase spontaneous capitalism all the time, and I know that's what happens when people come to a chamber event. So not only do we encourage companies to join the organization, but I also encourage them to use their membership and come to events and come to programs and get involved and get engaged, because they're only going to get out of the membership what they put into it.
You mentioned economic development a moment ago, and I know that how we do economic development in Williamson County and Franklin and cities in Williamson County has changed. Can you kind of update us on that?
Sure. Economic development is a little different. I mean, we basically serve as the staff for economic development for all the 6 municipalities in Williamson County, which relies on a partnership with the cities, and we've got a fantastic partnership. When we're working with the company, I think it says a lot to that company or to that consultant that we present a unified front. So whenever we're making any sort of incentive offer or ways we can help that company specifically, we do it together as the county and the city, and I think that goes a long way to letting these companies know that this is a place where the leadership really agrees, they're on the same page, and that element of risk is taken out of the equation, which puts us ahead of a lot of other communities that we typically compete with.
Well, what are they looking for? What have we got that attracts people to want to move their business here?
Yeah, I think, you know, the conversation about moving a business, growing a business here starts and ends with talent. That's the first question they have, and that's the last question they're going to have. And we spend the entire time convincing them this is a place where they can find a pipeline of talent, they can recruit talent to, and people are willing to move here from across the globe for these opportunities. So certainly when you talk about talent, you talk about our great public education system, you talk about the fantastic job the police department does in keeping crime low, the fact that there are low taxes, the fact that there's a high quality of life, and great living amenities for families as well. So, you know, it's not one thing in particular. All those things play in a puzzle that really helps these companies, especially those ones that are looking for headquarter operations, regional, national, international. That Williamson County is the right place for their business.
You know, the city of Franklin's been very blessed to be on a lot of who's who lists and top
Sure.
10 lists and so on. Why is that important, and how does that really compare to other places in the country, and how does that give you any advantage?
Sure. Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because recently Inc. 5000, which is a magazine that ranks the Inc. is a magazine that ranks the fastest 5,000 growing companies across the country, and their ranking just came out and found that of the companies in Tennessee that are on that Inc. list, which again measures the fastest private sector growing companies in the country, the ones in Tennessee, 33% are from Williamson County, which is astounding. When you think about our county is 3% of Tennessee's population, yet we account for 33% of the fastest growing companies in the entire state. That to me says that small companies, large companies, startups recognize that a great business environment benefits everybody, and that's a great. To me, that's the singular ranking we can take to the bank, because it really shows that this is a place that people have confidence in when they make their business investment decisions.
Well, you've mentioned job growth here, and I'm not speaking of job growth from new companies relocating here. I know that you have a program of meeting with existing companies to encourage job growth. Tell me about that program.
Sure.
A bit.
Well, and that program is, I mean, that's a great partnership we have with the city of Franklin, and that really started with your leadership to go out and talk to these companies about what their issues they're having and ways we can help them grow. So we go out and schedule meetings with you and someone from my staff, and meets individually one-on-one with the CEOs to make sure that things are going well for them. If there's anything we can help them with, to make sure they continue to grow in the county, because you mentioned it in the question, we know that about 71% of our job growth comes from existing companies, which is why we put so much emphasis on making sure our existing companies are happy and that there's a place for them to go and grow in Franklin and Williamson County.
You know, one of the things that I really enjoy seeing in the newsletter is the economic dashboard, which is a great way to highlight what's happening. Tell us about that, and maybe even touch on some of the items on the dashboard that you think are outstanding or important for our viewers to know about.
Yeah, and we really place a lot of faith in objective data. I mean, that's really important to us. Anecdotal data is fine, it helps tell a story, but for us, we want to know what's the unemployment rate, what's the job growth rate, what's the income growth rate of the county and the city, what are the new home sales, what are the sales tax collections, to really understand what the pulse of the community is. So we spend a lot of time and effort each month and each quarter collecting that kind of data that we put out for our members as part of the chamber. So it really helps us understand where we're going as a county and as a city, and any adjustments we need to make along the way.
Well, great. How would people find that?
Yeah, they can go to our website, williamsonchamber.com. They can sign up for our email list. They'll get that along with our weekly email from the chamber. And then we actually, every month, we do a Twitter review, which is a review of the top 10 tweets we've sent that month. So even if you're not on social media or not on Twitter, you can sign up, get to be a part of that. And really, it's a great way to keep up on what's the latest in the county. Everybody's busy. Nobody has any time anymore, so those are great ways to subscribe to really know what's happening in Williamson County and Franklin.
Well, tell us something about you that nobody else really may know, except maybe your wife.
But that, I'm not sure we have enough time for that particular question. You know, I think, gosh, it's tough. I mean, it's one thing to talk about the economy, it's another name for me to talk about myself. I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but I think anybody who's seen me talk knows that. I've seen him 11 times. Went to graduate school in New Hampshire where I took up skiing. That's still a big part of my life. And it's really neat. Over the last couple of years, I've had a chance to introduce my young kids to the sport, and that's really fun. Yeah. A good friend of mine said, "You'll never have as much fun on the ski slope than when you go with your kids." And I didn't believe him, but he was right.
Wow, and I know you're a big family man, and thanks for doing that.
Well, thanks.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Sure, happy to do it.
We've enjoyed our conversation, and I think our audience has learned a lot about the Williamson Inc. and their opportunities there. So we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to talk with Deb Faulkner, our interim police chief. So thank you.
Good morning, Franklin. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. Local news is coming up next. We'll check the weather and the traffic. You have a great day out there.
say good evening, Franklin, Tennessee.
And welcome back to More with the Mayor. And now we're going to have our next guest, Deb Faulkner, who's the interim police chief for the city of Franklin. Deb joined the city back in June, and pretty quickly, when our former chief left to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, became the interim chief. She does have a long history of police service, and I know her for several years because she and I were in Leadership Middle Tennessee together. So
right.
I have a great history with you, but she also hails from the University of Memphis, Middle Tennessee State, and then has a PhD from Vanderbilt. So it's great to have you on the show today, and I would like for you to just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, Deb.
Well, thank you, Mayor, for having me. I appreciate it. And I know how important it is to get the message out to our community and the citizens of Franklin so they know what's going on at their police department, because it's important to them, it's important to me. Well, you know, cops usually don't like talking about themselves, but I appreciate the fact that people are interested. I seem to be getting asked a great deal about myself. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a Nashville native, but I've lived in Franklin for the last over 9 years and love it. I did retire from the Metro Nashville Police Department. I had over 31 years there and rose to the rank of deputy chief and interim chief. And once I retired from Metro, the first thing I could do is move out of the county. And when I decided to move, there wasn't anywhere else I wanted to live but to move to Franklin. So I've always loved this area. I love the history, I love the culture, and I love the people. And now I'm doubly blessed because not only do I get to live here, but I get to work here. You've mentioned my academic background. That's always been important to me. And then when I left the city of Nashville, I went to work for the state of Tennessee for Governor Bredesen and also Governor Haslam as the Inspector General for the Office of Inspector General. And when the opportunity came to work here, I was doubly delighted to not only to interview but to be selected. This is a extremely good police department, and I know the citizens here are proud of it, and they should be.
Well, and we do live in a very safe community, and I must say that we had over 70 applicants, I understand. So, and we're thrilled that you're here, and we're also thrilled that you've been a citizen of Franklin, so you know the community. But, you know, you hit the ground really running back in June, and I think the race has gotten faster every single day. Tell us about what's been going on for the first few months in your job.
Well, yes, you're right. There's quite a bit going on. There were some projects that had started but had not been completed yet. So I set some priorities and decided to go after those. And one of the primary things is to look at our promotional process, because it had been a number of years since there had been a career ladder program and the ability for officers to test for the rank of sergeant and lieutenant. So everybody likes to know that there's an opportunity to move up in the organization, so we started working on that pretty heavy, looking at our policies and procedures, setting some priorities. We have our accreditation on site next year, so making sure that all of that's in order, that we maintain the standards that we set out years ago, and we've continued to meet those standards and hopefully exceed those. Looking at the budget, because we had a new fiscal year, and I want to make sure that I'm a good steward of that. And also hiring some new police officers. We have some vacancies that we need to fill. And this is a very desirable place to work, as you might suspect. And we just started doing some recruiting, and I really thought it was important to try to have as diverse a work pool to choose from as we could. So we've gone after about 8 area colleges and universities. And we are also doing some recruiting even today. up at Fort Campbell, because there are a number of soldiers who are coming back and beginning to transition. Many of them have been military police officers. They have their college education and would make great assets to the city of Franklin. So we just started this about a week ago, and we already have 200 applicants. That shows you how desirable it is to work here in Franklin.
Wow, wow. Well, since you've been named chief, we had one of the worst traffic fatalities on I-65 in my memory. And, you know, I've spoken a number of times already about how well our city team performed and how well we interacted with the other organizations involved in this. But I'd like for you to talk about how we respond in the time of a crisis. And of course, I'm aware, but our viewers may not be aware of how much training every one of our police officers have every single year.
You're absolutely right, Mayor, and it was a horrible tragedy, and certainly, as other city officials have done, the police department sends their condolences to the family and friends of the gentleman who passed in that accident. And you're also right in that we do continue to prepare. We have to be in a state of readiness at all times. We work not only at just the police department, but in a joint effort with the fire department and other emergency services and other city services to make sure that we can work together as a group. And I think we've demonstrated that quite well. At least I hope everyone's as pleased as I am. Everybody knew exactly what they were supposed to do, and they knew what everybody else was supposed to do, and that's the way the system works. We do a number of tabletop exercises and then actual exercises with everybody each year to maintain our readiness, to make sure that there is no policy failure. In fact, just as we were coming in here, you may have noticed I was walking down the hall with one of the deputy chiefs of the fire department and putting together an after-action report to make sure that we met our goals and everything worked as it should. And we'll continue to do that and tweak any policy or any training that we need to do. We can learn from every event, and this one was certainly a terrible tragedy. But I do think that the police department, the fire department, and other city services sprung to action, went right to work, got the job done, and we continue to work on that because there are some traffic issues in the area.
So what changes are coming up next for Franklin Police that you can tell us about?
Well, certainly we'll press on with the promotional process. We'll continue to examine our policies and procedures and make sure that we continue to provide quality service. We have a number of special events coming up. You know, the city of Franklin is a desirable place to visit. We know we'll have a lot of tourists and guests during the next few months for various events in the downtown area, but also because of the anniversary of the Battle of Franklin, and a lot of people will be here for that. So we'll continue to plan ahead, stay ahead of the curve, and try to be responsive to the community.
Well, I usually end up with a trick question. This one's not a real trick, but usually ask my guest to tell us something about you that nobody else knows, that you can tell.
Well, I don't want to tell everything. A lady never gives away all her secrets, but I don't really know what people in Franklin know about me. I do have a lot of friends who live here because I'm, like yourself, a Rotarian, and I've been involved in a lot of nonprofits in the Middle Tennessee area, and I was lucky to be a member of Leadership Franklin, Leadership Nashville, and Leadership Middle Tennessee. I don't know if a lot of people know that I'm a Master Gardener and a member of the Williamson County Master Gardener Association. I'm real proud of that. I worked on that last year. And I love to fly fish. I don't get to do it very much anymore, but I really love fly fishing. It takes you to locations that are exquisite, that are surreal, that are serene and quiet. And, you know, every once in a while we need a little peace in our life. But I'd like to work on that in the future to find the time to carve out to do that, because it is a wonderful sport and I enjoy it.
Well, we're so glad you were able to join us on the program today, and I want to thank you again for being here, and I want to remind our audience that you can view this on YouTube, and you'll see there on the screen the prompt. So we're going to wrap up today, and thanks for watching More with the Mayor, and we'll see you next time.